Today, I would like to give you my relatively first impressions on Promise and also tell you how my experience with it changed as I tried it throughout various samples. So, I think a good succinct way to describe Promise was something I heard someone else say here on YouTube, and that is that Promise feels like you're smelling a giant wood barrel that used to contain apple cider, and now it's empty, but the wood is still wet by the apple cider, and now you're smelling like the bottom of the barrel itself. So it smells like this damp wood with this hint of green apple sourness, bitterness, and also at times I get this vaguely ashy slash smoky kind of accord. This feeling of being wet is also weird because I don't know if it's like the cypriol oil or whatever it is, but sometimes it feels like oily more than wet, if that makes sense. You know, if you submerge something in oil, technically it's not wet, I would say, because oil is hydrophobic. But if you touch oil, it's in a liquid state. So when you touch it, like it feels wet, you know, it doesn't feel solid or dry. So that's the feeling you get sometimes when you're smelling this. It's this vaguely wet texture that's not necessarily wet in a way, if that makes sense. My experience with Promise changed a bit throughout my different wares because the first sample I tried was an original sample from the Discovery set that Frederic sells. There are two of them, and both have one Desert Gem collection sample, and that is Promise. And when I tried it there, it felt more cidery. The green apple was more evident. It was vibrant. And more than being like this wet, woody smell, I got more of this dry earth type of smell, maybe vaguely oily, but I would say more dry and more earthy. The second sample, however, especially after maybe the first few sprays, felt more ashy. I don't know if there was a problem with the sample, but then I bought another sample from a perfumery here in Italy. And actually, I have to say that I never was able to find that vibrant green apple cidery smell in this sample either. And here I get more of that wet, woody smell, at times ashy also. So I don't know if it's the first sample that maybe was a different batch. I have no idea what it was. But honestly, that was like the liquid I preferred the most because I don't like a lot the damp, wet, woody, maybe a bit earthy, a bit smoky, ashy smell that this has mainly. Like when I smelled it for the first time, that first sample, it was on the air, this very saturated green apple smell, bitter, cidery, but close to your skin, it was this very dry earth smell. So it had this dichotomy if you were smelling it closer to your skin and farther away. So that's why I would like to try maybe some other original samples, maybe like a 10 ml sample if I can get my hands on it, or an actual full bottle, maybe buy used, and then if I don't like it, I would just resell it and try to make my money back. But that has been my experience with Promise so far. I don't know if I would necessarily buy it at this point. I still want to try it again, as I said, and see if I can catch that initial, let's say, impression I had with Promise, that initial smell, because that vibrant apple cideriness was the thing I liked the most. So I like the dichotomy between the sweet and sour accord with the more, let's say, darker base, but we'll see. Also, as I said in the Hope video, Promise and Hope are different. Initially, I thought that Hope was pretty similar to Promise. Like when you first spray it, it certainly reminds you of Promise. They're both done by the same perfumer, Dominique Lopion, if I'm not mistaken. However, I have to say that they have two different souls. Hope reminds you of this warm, spicy, vetivery, slightly smoky type of fragrance. In general, if I had to describe it succinctly, I would say like warm, spicy smell. Promise doesn't feel warm at all. It feels oily in a way. Sometimes I spray it and, as I said, it doesn't feel wet. It feels like more of an oily type of texture, or maybe it's sort of like a warmer wetness, if that makes sense. You know, it's like a wood that's wet but not by a cold liquid, or maybe it was once cold but now the wood has dried up a bit and has warmed up a bit, so it has this sort of dichotomy of being slightly oily, wet, sometimes a bit dry, as I said, ashy, earthy, woody, smoky. It depends to me by the wear itself. Like right now with the sample I'm using, I mainly get this sort of like oily, wet, more woody with a hint of maybe earthiness. That's like the main smell I get. However, it feels, as I said, more on the colder side. It's not a cold wear necessarily. It's not fresh, but definitely it is not like Hope. Hope is more warm, spice, vetivery smell. It's like pretty evident, pretty in your face. It's a warm accord. Obviously, it then changes as you wear it. It becomes more and more smoky. So this is my small, I wouldn't say review, it's more of my first impressions. Not complete. As I said, I would like to try other Promise sample if I can, original Promise sample, and see if my impressions maybe change again a bit. Let me know what you think about the Desert Gem collection and what's your favorite one and why, and see you in the next video.